Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. So I'm gonna be moving out of this hostel soon. The owner wants to do some renovations, and so for the last couple of nights, it was kind of nice to have this room to myself. But at the same time, part of the reason I even moved in here was to network with people. It has not turned out very well. 6 roommates have come and gone in the time that I was here, and all of them I had little edge cases with that didn't make it work out. I had 2 roommates who were real sensitive to noise. One of them especially, but even the other one was terribly quiet. Like, you couldn't even turn on like any background noise at night, right? And the other one just outright complained. And you know what? I think he probably had something else against me that he didn't say, and he used the noise as a way to argue with me. He was actually managing the place. It was a family member of the owner. The owner had hired to manage the place, and she had to fire. Not because of the noise. Actually, it kind of is the noise complaints. He had let some plumbing issues slide and caused some damage to the place. And also, one day, a couple new roommates had checked in, and I was talking to the new roommates, trying to network, and I said, "Oh, by the way, just be mindful that this guy can get a little bit sensitive to noise. So he wants the place completely silent by 10 o'clock." And I didn't realize that he was here when I said that. He jumps out of his room to scream and say, "Well, that's because you were doing this and that," and he exaggerated what I was doing the night before. And he got very defensive about that. And that scared away the 2 new potential guests, and they canceled their reservation. Long story short, the owner got wind of that and came over to see what was going on. And not long after that, I learned that he was let go from managing the place. I'm not sure how to feel about that whole saga. It was kind of weird. If I had it to do again, I probably wouldn't have played it out that way. But you know what? Things have been a little. The most frustrating part of that saga was that he got let go of the place, but the owner gave him some time to look for another place to stay. And so for 2 weeks, we had a disgruntled former employee living on site. It was odd, to say the least. You know, I worked for a number of tech giants, and every time I've got let go from the job, whether it be my fault or not, I was told to get out of the building immediately. Oftentimes I had valuables in the building, and it made for a very strange situation. I didn't want my coworkers to necessarily see what they were packing for me. Sometimes I had things that were fragile in the building, like right now with the artwork and all that. And yet you had this person who not only was on site, but sleeping in here, living in here, sometimes even having a guest over, and it just made for a very uncomfortable setting. Thankfully, that is over with, and it's really fun. But that, unfortunately, I didn't get along with too many people, and then I had a few other roommates who we just didn't have common interests. We might not have argued about noise levels or cooking something that was odorous or anything. No, maybe we didn't argue about that, but we didn't have common interests. We would see each other and ghost each other in the common areas, right? And the other day it was Mary Curry's birthday, and I decided to celebrate it by going mining for her favorite element. Radon in the air decays into polonium, and I discovered that you could collect household dust and it will have measurable amounts of radioactivity, presumably from polonium. And I wanted to see if I could collect enough to do something interesting with it, like making anti-static equipment, or maybe even having a small microscopic amount of it that you could maybe see under a microscope or something like that. And so I had collected enough to make the Geiger counter sing, And my roommate got so upset that I had woken him up with the Geiger counter noises. He argued with me about that. And I'm going to be moving soon. I'm so glad it is mid-November. I can show you guys what it looks like outside. And you can imagine what the weather is like. What's really nice is that this is the kind of weather where it's tolerable to live out of your car for a little bit, hang out of your car. I actually make a whole lot more connections when I'm living in my car than I do in the hostel, because in the car, you have to find somewhere to hang out. You spend a lot of time in the library. And I actually make a lot of connections that way too. A lot more so than at the hostel. And what's really funny is that I was browsing Airbnb, and I was messaging some of the other hosts on there, and I wanted to find out what the social atmosphere of some of these places were. But as soon as I delved too deeply into that, it kind of scared away a number of hosts, and they stopped responding to me, which is alright. Probably not a place I want to be staying anyway. I guess you really can't find out until you go there. I might have to book a few days or a week or so, see how it goes before I book for the longer term, right? Because that was a big deciding factor for me. Now, the next hostel I stay at, the weather is nice. If it doesn't turn out, I can very easily check out and look for something else, right? I didn't have the same luxury here because back in September when I first moved in here, it was 110 degrees, right? I couldn't freely move around if I wanted to, and so I put up with a lot of shit just so I wouldn't die, right? This is the Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum.